Winner of this will improve to 11-1 and be near locked for the top 8 of the tournament.
Very high pressure matchup. Of course, Gerry is no stranger to situations like this.
And not at all. So the mono-white humans versus white-blue humans are underway. It's turn 1. We're going to see that town gossip monger from Max McVety. And how about one from Gerry as well as we pass back? So do you like the blue cards here in the mirror? I mean, in a creature mirror, I think Reflector Mage is good, right?
It all comes down to how the mana shakes up. So Gerry has better spells in his deck. If you can get to Reflector Mage, blocking a 2-1, bouncing a creature, that's really good. It's a matter of his blue lands coming into play untapped and being able to curve out naturally.
So a pair of Dragon Hunters from turn 2 for McVety. For Thompson, he has a copy of Thalia's Lieutenant. That's going to make his Town Gossip Monger bigger than McVety's Gossip Monger. You see, right. Max will transform his to the Incited Rabble. It's a 2-3. It's going to have to attack, so we're going to see some action here.
If McVety just has Always Watching on this turn, that would be huge.
Oof, yeah.
Even a Thalia's Lieutenant of his own would be much more impressive than the one that Gerry just cast.
Well, with Always Watching, actually, the only creature he can swing is the Incited Rabble because of that 1-1 counter, I would think. And how about this? It's a turn 3 Stasis Snare on Gerry Thompson's Town Gossip Monger. And here comes the team. It is 2 Dragon Hunters and an Incited Rabble.
Yeah, so not only is there pressure on the types of lands that Gerry is playing, there's also just the fact that Max was on the play.
Yeah, and he got the privilege to make that sort of line here.
And these decks with so many 1-drops, that is huge.
So the Thalia's Lieutenant trades with one of the 2 Dragon Hunters. We go back to Thompson, and he plays, and this is the card we're talking about, Bygone Bishop. So the 2/3 flyer, it's kind of the Mentor of the Meek reprint, if you will. Whenever Gerry casts a creature spell with converted mana cost 3 or less, which is all of his, he'll get to investigate.
And the 2/3 body is quite strong, though McVety drawing the Town Gossip Monger, and indeed the reason I like going up to 4 copies, that's able to safely attack here.
Yeah, Incited Rabble hits Gerry down to 14. Now, Dragon Hunter had to stay at home. McVety's follow-up was a copy of Council's Lieutenant. A good card, but not something that gets through Bygone Bishop just yet.
Right, we'll need another removal spell or some kind of pumping effect.
Well, how about this from Thompson? A second Bygone Bishop, then a copy of Kithian, making 2 more clues. Gerry has 3 clues now in play. This kind of card advantage engine, as long as Gerry can stay alive, this is going to bury Max.
Right, when it comes to card advantage, Gerry's not going to have any difficulty turning the corner. It's a question if Max can actually kill him before he starts popping these clues.
We've seen before 2/3s are just about the right size against the humans deck. And yeah, go see the look there. McVety not entirely sure how to get through these 2/3s. He'll play Knight of the White Orchid. That'll get him another Plains.
Another thing I like about these Bygone Bishops is they make those Griff's Boons not especially effective.
Yeah, and this is a big one. Declaration in Stone, the perfect answer here. So both those Bygone Bishops are bygone. Gerry up to 5 clues, but that's not relevant here.
Yeah, and Gerry with only 2 cards in hand, looks like at least one of them is a land. He didn't really have the option to not play into that, but he did unfortunately get punished there.
And you feel like if any card other than Declaration in Stone, and Gerry's in the clear.
Right.
But you see a swing from the team from McVety. Dragon Hunter will trade with Kithian, and Gerry takes 2 off the Incited Rabble, 2 off Council's Lieutenant. The Lieutenant renowns to a 3/2. Gerry down to 10 and has no board.
And that renowned Lieutenant is huge. So Max already has creatures that are better than the average creature in this matchup. The first strike on the Knight of the White Orchid, the 3 toughness on the Incited Rabble, they're already very good. But even if they weren't, the Lieutenant would turn them into powerful creatures. So McVety is in a commanding position here. Looks like all Gerry is going to be able to do here is just crack some clue tokens. So McVety has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 power creatures without any triggers happening. Of course, the Lieutenant is going to pump the team, has access to Fire Breathe the Rabble as well.
Yeah, so here's 7. He could pump it up to 9. Archangel Avacyn from Gerry. Does have 2 copies of that in the main.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about, Gerry just having access to more powerful spells. It's going to jump in front of and eat something.
This sort of metagaming for the white mirror, playing Bygone Bishops and Archangel Avacyns in your aggro deck. This is a very Gerry Thompson thing to be doing.
Yeah, you don't usually see Gerry playing, the Savannah Lions deck if he doesn't have some kind of technology. That's not the kind of Magic that he wants to play.
So Avison blocks Council's Lieutenant. We'll see whether or not McVety chose to pump the Rabble. It looks like he did not. Instead, he's going to play a post-combat Archangel of Tides. Does have Thompson down to 4.
Yeah, Thompson's life total is still under pressure. It looks like he picked up a Reflector Mage, which is it's a good tempo swing here, though. Thompson has to figure out a way to not die. McVety has another removal spell in hand.
Well, right now, with only one blocker, Gerry's dead on the board. Now, I believe he has a copy of Reflector Mage in hand, and that could do a lot of work.
Right. Thinking about both what to bounce with the Reflector Mage and whether to pop a clue first, if there's anything he could draw over that.
Yeah, we can't forget Gerry has 5 clue tokens in play, so he basically, for the rest of the game, has the ability just to pay 2 mana to draw a card.
Yeah, going to take a look here.
Prairie Stream is the draw. He'll then play his copy of Reflector Mage. That will put the Archangel of Tides back in McVety's hand, and Gerry will play Thraben Inspector. So back up to 5 clues. But
yeah, there's no shortage of clues.
And maybe he stabilized. Remember that Incited Rabble has to attack each turn.
Yeah, so the Avison will be able to trade with that here, or you can just throw Reflector Mage and the Inspector in front of it, which is, in all likelihood, a much better block.
Yeah, McVety can only pump up to 4 power, so he doesn't really get to take both the creatures down.
Right.
Avison will also flip if he makes that play, which is very dangerous.
Yeah, there's some pressure on McVety to have a removal spell or some kind of pump effect here, though he's not gesturing like he has it.
Well, if we get into the game of trading removal spells for creatures, then those 5 clue tokens for Gerry, I mean, that could run away with the game, right?
If Gerry's able to stay alive, absolutely.
Yeah. So here comes Incited Rabble, the 2/3 that has to attack. We'll see whether Gerry wants to trade Avison with it, or I'm thinking he throws one of the little guys in front. Yeah, and not even given the option, Thraben Inspector goes in front of Incited Rabble. It dies, which means Avison is going to turn vengeful.
Yep. McVety is not going to commit any additional creatures into that.
So she no longer Archangel Avison, she's now Avison the Purifier, the red 6/5. When she transforms, she deals 3 to all creatures and to Max. Max goes down to 13. Gerry, the only creature on the board, it's the 6/5, and now he will go drawing for cards. Cracks a clue token. How about another one? Down to 3 clues, draws another card. Got all these off these pair of Bygone Bishops and the Declaration in Stone that Max used to take care of the Bygone Bishops.
The clues are going to help Gerry just bury McVety, but the Avison might have been just enough on its own.
Council's Lieutenant and Thraben Inspector for Gerry puts him back up to 4 clues.
It's difficult to overstate how powerful Avison is.
See McVety, he was ahead for so long here. Got Gerry down to 4 with a full 20 life, and this sort of thing, double Bygone Bishop, Avison, it's not what you expect out of the Human's Mirror.
Yeah, Gerry's list is unusual. With that 5 mana up, McVety thinking, Avison has to be on the back of his mind. Not clear if he knows.
It's a great card, yeah,
that Gerry is playing it. And a lot of these blue-white decks actually go towards Dragonlord Ojutai over Avison, so it's not a given. Certainly not a given that it's in Gerry's hand.
Go back over to Thompson. He'll clue up some more. So draws a card. Remember, the Archangel of Tides is going to put some pressure on Gerry's mana if you wanted to try to swing the team here.
Right, though for a deck that plays as few of them as Gerry's does, he's not shy on lands.
Well, he's got to be careful here, right? If he attacks with the Archangel, it only puts Max to 1, and he could die to something like Griffspoon. So until he has a removal spell, he may have to play this on the more defensive side of things.
Right. The mana's not an issue, but tapping the Avison certainly is.
So there's a balancing act here between Gerry wanting to draw cards with his clues and keeping mana for Archangel of Tides. So as long as she's untapped, then creatures can't attack Max unless his controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. So he'd have to pay 1 for each attacker. And this is one, if it's attacking, creatures can't block unless Gerry pays 1. So he has to leave up mana, enough mana that if Max swings the team, Gerry has blocks available.
Right. With 2 creatures in play, just needs to leave up 2 mana. Conveniently, if there's no attack, that's enough mana for Gerry to just pop a clue. So
he's popped 2 clues. Looks like he has more lands. Plays another Prairie Stream. So Now 4 mana available, could crack the remaining 2 clues.
Right. We won't see him cracking more than 1 on his turn here, I'm sure of it.
Looks like his last card is a land and a creature. An additional creature doesn't do much here. We'll see what it is. It may be Thalia's Lieutenant, though, and I think it is. Puts a counter on all the humans. Now, sadly for Gerry, does not put a counter on Avacyn. If he could get her up to a 7-power flyer, I think he would certainly do it.
Right. Though now McVety needs to find a removal spell or another blocker. You know, granted, almost all of his deck is that. He only has a couple dead draws here, but Gerry has lethal with Avacyn plus any creature at this point.
So, yeah, a removal spell for Avacyn, though, could steal the game from McVety. We'll see what he did.
Right. Again, McVety not posturing like somebody who has it.
Five lands in play, Archangel of Tides and Town Gossipmonger. He will play, or a Kithian. Now he'll play Town Gossipmonger. And just pass back to Gerry. And it's that untap. That was the window. And now Max is going to be forced into some pretty difficult blocks.
Right. Or if Gerry has a removal spell, he just cleanly wins this game.
Yeah, I believe he picked up a copy of Declaration in Stone. He's going to start by cracking that last clue token. And really, that's the thing, is that this game went on long enough for Gerry to cash out all those clue tokens. It's way too many extra cards.
Right. Gerry didn't have any shortage of mana to crack them. Arguably had a few too many lands in the early game, but having Avacyn exactly allowed him to turn this game around.
So Gerry, Declaration in Stone's away the Archangel of Tithes. Looks like he also has a copy of Stasis Snare in hand. He knows he's in a commanding position. He's just trying to make sure he can play around everything.
Right.
Stasis Snares away the Kithian. And you can see it on Max's motions that he knows he's dead.
Yep.
And game 1 goes to the blue-white humans deck of Gerry Thompson.
Yeah, and I like that Stasis Snare there. The only spell that McVety could really have there would be a Stasis Snare of his own, which wouldn't have been good enough. But you can't take it with you. Get rid of that blocker while you can.
Yeah, and this is a really impressive comeback as well. When you had Max go triple 1-drop and have that turn 3 Stasis Snare for Gerry's good blocker, I felt like Max might run away with the game.
Yeah, Max had most of the tools he needed there, and this just kind of shows the power level. As I was saying, Gerry's mana does have some awkward draws. If he doesn't have a basic Plains and he's leading on Port Town and Prairie Stream, he can stumble a little bit, but that game it was just Plains, 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 Prairie Stream. Gerry just able to cast all of his spells, and his spells are just better.
All right, well, the players are going to shuffle up for game number 2 in this Humans Mirror match. We're going to take a second. We told you about the Season 2 schedule. One of the events that we do have coming up in that season is Grand Prix Charlotte. There's a lot of great stuff going on, so we're going to take a second to talk through that one.
On May 20th through the 22nd, make plans to be part of Modern Weekend and Magic the Gathering history when StarCityGames.com proudly presents Grand Prix Charlotte. Register for the Modern Format main event to compete for thousands of dollars in prizes and receive an exclusive playmat featuring Jace as he pores over the pages of Tomio's journal. Select the 3-day Infinite Challenge package to compete in all challenge events for one low price, while also walking away with the exclusive Jace playmat. Add a premium rewards package and take home a collectible pin, deck box, 80-count pack of sleeves, and playmat, all featuring the iconic Noble Hierarch. Play and select side events for even more chances to win additional Noble Hierarch pins, deck boxes, sleeves, and playmats all weekend long. And don't forget to come say hello to Grand Prix Charlotte's many special guests, including cosplayer Christine Sprinkle and an artist alley full of fan favorites, headlined by guest of honor Rob Alexander. Be part of Modern Weekend and Magic the Gathering history. Register for Grand Prix Charlotte today.
That'll be coming up, Modern Weekend Grand Prix Charlotte. These players getting ready for the second game. I want to take a second to look at the sideboarding plans for each of these decks. Now, on Max's side, he's got copies of Archangel of Tides, Hanvir, Militia Captain, Silk Wrap. I have to think that's pretty good here. Kills just about everything in Gerry's deck.
Right. Sometimes the Human Lord,
Thalia's Lieutenant.
Thalia's Lieutenant can get out of hand. Being able to just deal with ever 2 mana, having a high threshold of those cards can matter a lot in the boards that tend to get stalled. If you have Archangel of Tides in your 75, this is the matchup you wanted in. I'm not convinced that it's necessarily great. If it just gets tagged with Declaration in Stone, of course, Gerry has Reflector Mage. You're taking a very negative tempo swing, though there's going to be games where it's going to be very good. So I think we'll be seeing those here.
On Gerry Thompson's side, enough can't be said. The way that Gerry does so well in the Open Series is his ability to next level the whole metagame. And when you look at his sideboard, this just seems phenomenal in the matchup. He has a transformational package to become this mid-range blue-white deck. More copies of Bygone Bishop, Tragic Arrogance, more Silk Wraps. This just seems excellent.
Yeah, Tragic Arrogance is great in this matchup. If your opponent draws 2 copies of Always Watching and you leave them with 1, you choose the creature you leave behind. There's no shortage of bad bodies, like Thraben Inspector doesn't leave much behind when you Tragic Arrogance.
Yeah. Does he go all the way to Ojutai's Command here?
Ojutai's Command is rather inefficient the way that you trade. It's possible.
Yeah, he can get back a creature and gain 4. I suppose that's not great.
Gerry, as a game plan here, is going to be trading very aggressively, so the command does get back a creature and gain some life. Wouldn't surprise me to see that card.
All right, so the players are underway. Game 2, a pair of Town Gossip Mongers for each player. Gerry playing it off a copy of Port Town. That's the blue-white duel from Shadows over Innistrad. And Max, he's going to go ahead and use Thalia's Lieutenant. Had the option to attack there for 2, but he's going to leave back the Gossip Monger so that it can transform into some incited rabble.
Right.
Another Port Town for Gerry. Still has the planes in hand.
Yeah, the mana is working cleanly for Gerry here, so now it's just a matter of having the right mix of spells. Again, the spells in his 75 are just more powerful than Max's.
Yeah, he plays a copy of Council's Lieutenant. Max will transform in his Gossip Monger into the Incited Rabble. It is a 3/4 thanks to Thalia's Lieutenant. So a little big here for Gerry to want to brawl with this creature. He would have to double block and he'd lose his board.
Right. Gerry doesn't have good blocks for that yet. I assume that we'll be seeing that connect here.
On the other side, Max does not have, I was going to say he doesn't have a blocker for Council's Lieutenant. This is a huge play. Always watching the turn 3 play from McVety. So the 3/4 Insider Rebel is now a 4/5. It attacks for 4 with Vigilance and knocking Gerry down to 16.
In a damage race, having to attack can be a very serious drawback, but once the creature is both gigantic and has Vigilance, that is just no longer true.
This is the second game in a row we've seen this mono-white Humans deck from Max McVety do an excellent curve out in the first 3 turns of the game.
If Gerry has a Reflector Mage here, that would be a huge swing back.
That's a big win, isn't it? Knight of the White Orchid will be the play from Gerry. Now, he can't Reflector Mage yet, but he could get a big first strike wall going.
Right, he has 4 power of First Strike hanging out here. The Rabble does have 5 toughness at this point in time, so there's a little bit of work to do.
Right, he needs 1 more. Of note, Gerry declined to transform his turn. Count Gossip Monger last turn.
He doesn't want to have to attack.
Yeah. He's going to play another Gossip Monger for 1 white and maybe just pass the turn. Those blue cards, like you mentioned Reflector Mage, that does seem to be great in this matchup. Each game I keep thinking if Gerry could draw a Reflector Mage, that's good for him.
Right. Gerry with 4 lands now. If he can untap, play a land, and has Avacyn, that would also be huge. That's not a blue
Avacyn's
card,
unreal good here. You're right.
Yeah.
You go back to McVety. He does not have another land drop, it appears. Good mixture of spells.
Yeah, everything in his deck is castable off planes. It's the only land that he plays.
Yeah, no Westvale Abbeys in his list.
There are some draws where 3 is a little bit choked, but he'll certainly be able to cast at least 1 spell a year, likely 2. Unless the hand were all 4 Archangel of Tithes. That would be unfortunate.
And we'll see just where we are here. Looks like a gang block on the Incited Rabble. Yeah, it's a triple block here. Now, if Max pumps, Gerry loses, well, that's 3 toughness worth of creatures. I think everything dies, doesn't it?
Well, Gerry will be able to transform
Oh, okay.
the
All right.
rabble.
So it'll have 3 toughness.
Right.
So that's a total of 6 points of toughness, right? 1, 2, 3. So a pump here doesn't help Max much. This is a 2-for-1 trade.
Right. Gerry is playing for the long game here, so it doesn't surprise me to see this blocking here. He just needs to preserve his life total and start casting his big spells.
Yeah, so that trade goes down a 2-for-1 for McVety, but as he had so much invested in that one card, that seems like this may be fine.
At this point in time, that Rabble is going to remove itself for a blocker. Gerry has not yet turned the corner to being the aggressor, so that is a drawback for Gerry.
And a pair of Thraben Inspectors for Max McVety pumps Thalia's Lieutenant up to a 4-4. And a pair of 2-3s. With the always watching him play, Thraben Inspector is really a good card.
Yeah. 1 mana, 2-3. They can pay 2 mana to draw a card.
Yeah, very impressive. You go over to Gerry Thompson. It's an always watching of his own. His creatures, too, will be pumped and vigilant.
That helps mitigate the drawback on his Rabble.
Well, see, his Rabble is still a 2-3 that must attack. It's
a 3-4.
It's a 3-4, yeah. It could trade with Thalia's Lieutenant here if Gerry tapped his mana.
McVety can just throw both Inspectors in front, and then he only loses 1, which is a good trade.
Yeah, so Gerry's Rabble will attack. Yeah, both. He'll do just that. Max McVety will double block with Thraben Inspectors. Gerry Thompson did not really have a choice on this attack. Incited Rabble, that's what it's going to do.
Yeah, there was no good pump there, though transforming the other Rabble seems solid.
Yeah, I suppose his option, if he didn't want to do that turn, he could have tapped to transform.
Little visual shortcut for there. Gerry put the card that was on the proper side in the graveyard.
Right, so what happened was the Incited Rabble died and became, and then the other town Gazet-monger became Incited Rabble. That's why it's tapped.
Right.
McVety will crack a clue token, play another town Gazet-monger. Thalia's Lieutenant grows again. And here comes the Inspector and the Lieutenant. It's a 5-5 and a 2-3. 7 damage across will put Gerry Thompson down to 9. McVety passes.
Gerry really wants to find an answer for that Lieutenant.
Well, he's got one here. Now, it's Reflector Mage, and here's a difficulty. It does mean that he's putting Thalia's Lieutenant back in McVety's hand, and just he may have to do it, but that enters the battlefield trigger is quite good.
You remove the counters that are on the Lieutenant itself, but it gets to dispense them to the rest of the team.
Yeah, it's a temporary fix. Now remember, Gerry Thompson, not in his hand but in his sideboard, does have cards like Tragic Arrogance. So if you're looking to wonder, how does he beat all these cards in Max's hand, there is an out.
Of course, unfortunately for Gerry, in his hand he has cards like Prairie Stream. Yeah,
he'd have to have a good set of draws here. Not to mention he has an Incited Rabble here that's feeling rather suicidal.
Does have a ton. He's able to pump it 3 times here, so it'll at least be trading with something.
I mean, with Max at 20, maybe he doesn't even block.
Yeah, there's a strong argument for not blocking.
He's going to make the block with Thalia's Lieutenant. So it's a 5-5 blocking a 3-4. Gerry would have to pump 2 times to make this trade happen. He'll do so.
No reason to think twice about that. Gerry loves this trade.
Yeah, well, I mean, on Max's side, I may even like the block, though, because it just taps Gerry out for the turn. You see Gerry, no follow-up play. We go back to McVety. This is more damage, especially with always watching. The Gazet-monger can flip. This is a lot of damage.
Well, Gerry had the tap off of it that turn, though the Reflector Mage in his hand just got a lot better for the following turn.
He's going to go very low on this attack, however.
Of course, McVety just hanging out with 4 spells.
Yeah.
Plenty to worry about there.
A clue token as well in play for McVety. So he swings both creatures. Before damage, he will tap them both to transform the Gazet-monger. So it looks like this is going to be 5 damage. It'll put Gerry to 4. So the Incited Rabble and the Thraben Inspector now both in play, both taps. They both are pumped by always watching. Council's Lieutenant is the follow-up play for Max. He had the choice between Lieutenant and trying to hit that land drop with the clue. He decided to take the conservative line here and just get the creature in play.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Gerry's on 4.
Right, ideally you would crack the clue, draw a land, play the Lieutenant. Gerry's play, he will use Reflector Mage to bounce the Council's Lieutenant, and then plays a second copy of Always Watching. So that Reflector Mage is up to being a 4-5.
Gerry would have Rather had a second Reflector Mage, of course, with that Declaration in Stone out of McVety.
Yeah, so he removes the blocker, swings lethal, and we're on to game 3.
Yeah, I don't think that there was really anything that Gerry could have done there.
No, he has to hope that that blocker is good enough. So McVety and Thompson tied up at one apiece. These players currently 10-1 each. At 11-1, that's going to put them in. These players are tied for first. There are no undefeated players, I believe, left in the tournament. So a win here will get them into first place and go entering the modern rounds. Believe them as maybe needing to win one round at best.
Coming off with a win in the last round of a leg of an event where you go from standard to modern, say you won your last round of standard, that's some good momentum for you.
Just a reminder what these players are playing for. At the prize payout for the tournament, it is $10,000 and 50 SCG points to the winner, along with invites to future invitationals. That person also with an invitation to the Players' Championship. We see prizes going all the way down here. 1,500 to all top 8 competitors, 1,000 to the top 16 competitors, and importantly, especially if you're a Gerry Thompson fan, a lot of SCG points at stake here.
Yeah, tons of exciting prizes. Not surprising that 750 people came out this weekend. There's a lot that they're battling for.
Now, for the first time with the Invitational, we actually have more on the line this weekend, and we have some other things that we're giving away. First of all, there's an invite to the Players' Championship. There's an invite to the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour Eldritch Moon in Sydney, Australia here for the winner of the event. As well as that, they get their own likeness on a token. And we've seen that before. Caleb Shear with the most recent one, that was the Storm token. But the winner will get their likeness on a token that's given away at Star City's Opens and Classic events for all of Season 2.
Australia is a pretty saucy flight. You got to be happy about winning that.
Yeah, I would not mind taking a trip there. It's a long flight here from the United States, but I've never been.
That's why it's good value.
Oh, okay. So the value of plane ticket.
We're saying the same thing.
It's all about hours per dollars, see?
Right. Of course, your face on a token. Gerry's got a couple of those already. It's definitely good to have another one. Certainly would mean more to somebody that doesn't have one yet, but I think that Gerry would be very happy to have the blue Thopter token.
Yeah, he right. That would be for his modern deck.
Yeah, he already has the Merit Lage.
Yes.
The deck that Gerry is best known for is the Thopter Dex deck.
Yeah, he needs the other half of the deck.
Right.
Right. He only had the Merit Lage half, not the Dark Top, not the Thopter depths.
Only one of those tokens is legal in Modern.
So.
And it is something that he's making this weekend.
The token is not banned in Modern.
It's not banned, but it's also not legal. You don't have to ban tokens.
Yeah, you just can't make one.
That'd be a really weird way for the rules to work. Okay, you can play Dragon Roost, but Dragon Token is banned.
Yeah, that'd be tough. You can't put the token in play. I like it the other way around. If you can get the token into play somehow, it's fine.
Don't ask me why the card I named was Dragon Roost.
I just feel like that is, of all the cards that make tokens, we're going straight to Dragon Roost, See, I was thinking Centaur Glade. I was in the same format, but it's the other creature.
Dragons are very oppressive.
Game 3 here from Max McVety and Gerry Thompson. Yeah, this card was really great and limited, by the way. This enchantment just makes a dragon every turn. You just lose to it.
Yeah, one dragon's good. How about 3?
All right, so for Gerry, it's a turn 1 Town Gotsamonger, turn 2 Knight of the White Orchid. For the first game, he is the one on the play, and we see the same dynamic as we had before, but it's turned on its head. Now Gerry's the attacker.
Yeah, and even if Gerry has these bigger spells in his deck, he still has plenty of access to efficient creatures that he can attack with. He's not going to board out Always Watching as well.
And it's interesting, McVety did not have a 1-drop. His first play on the draw is a turn 2 Hanvir Militia Captain, and you feel like he's already very far behind. I mean, Gerry, 2 creatures that neither of which Max can block.
I gotta say, I don't feel good about my first play of the game being Glory Seeker.
How about Always Watching for Thompson? This is 6 damage here with Vigilance. McVety down to 14.
Glorious Anthem, a better Magic card than Glory Seeker.
Ooh, lots of glory in both these cards. Also, these cards are both 10 years old. Always Watching, better than Glorious Anthem. I will give you that. The Vigilance mattering here.
Yeah, not pumping tokens is a drawback, though, as we've seen, you can just play a bunch of creatures.
I can't play in my Spectral Procession deck, but I can play in my Mono White Humans deck.
Spirit token is banned in Standard.
But Spectral Procession's okay.
Yeah.
Max going to have to play defense. You see Declaration of Stone looks like it may have been flipped to the front of his hand. He'll get rid of the Knight of the White Orchid.
So this is kind of weird. McVety actually has the Malicious Captain in his sideboard. So he's thinking that in the mirror he's going to be able to get up to 4 creatures consistently.
I don't know if I agree with that.
And Jerry's game plan is all about trading and using removal spells.
Yeah, it's...
So I don't really like this card just as a card, and I really don't like it as a sideboard card.
So I'm going to back up here. Okay, I agree with you that I'm not sure I like Conveyor Militia Captain at all. But if there is a matchup where you do like it, this one seems reasonable.
This would certainly be it.
So if you registered it, yeah.
Right, Gerry Thompson's build is where this is going to punish McVety the most.
I don't think Max knows that Gerry has Tragic Arrogance coming out of the sideboard, okay?
Right.
I will give Max a pass on this.
Fair.
A copy of Jerry's decks are great. A copy of Gideon, Ally of Zendikar is the turn 4 play for Gerry Thompson. Makes a token number that doesn't get pumped by always watching. Come on.
How very unfortunate.
The Incited Rabble will swing again. Max is down to 11. His play last turn was the Militia Captain and the Town Gossip Monger. Or his Declaration Stone and the Town Gossip Monger.
So casting Gideon when you're ahead has just always been very good, particularly against a mono white deck.
Not really going to kill it. You're going to get a lot of activations off this Gideon.
There was already ground for McVety to make up, and now there's a Planeswalker.
Mythic Rares, man. Those things are beating. Always watching is the play from McVety. So the Militia Captain, a 3/3. The Gossip Monger sitting in play as well. Still no attacks, though, from McVety. He'll pass.
Yeah, no good attacks yet.
Can't hit through Incited Rabble, yeah.
They're only going to get worse with Gideon hanging out.
See, I wonder if Gerry starts plussing the Gideon, starts brawling.
That seems crazy.
No, he's got Max at 11. That's not horrible.
It depends, like what kind of position, what kind of shapes he's in. If Max has like direct Declaration in Stone.
Well, how about now? Gerry has Declaration in Stone. He gets rid of the Militia Captain.
I think that Gerry is very far from losing a long game here. If he sees a window where he can close the game in 2 turns and there's no outs that McVety has, sure, go ahead and plus the Gideon.
We might have that. What McVety is considering now is if he wants to transform the Gossip Monger before his Militia Captain goes away.
Right.
Both lines look horrible.
Taps him off of blockers, which is really
bad.
I was
saying either you get this,
or he has a Grizzly Bear,
which can't block any. It can trade with the. So the problem here is that if he doesn't, he needs to. If he removes his own blocker, then I believe the Rabble plus Gideon activated plus the Knight token kills him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've actually been thinking about it. The proposition of making the ally depends on how many creatures Gerry can commit otherwise, because Declaration in Stone just cleanly deals with them.
All right, here's the Brawl. Gideon +1. It has Vigilance. It's swinging. The Knight token's swinging. The Rabble's swinging. So Gideon, that's 6 damage from the Gideon, 3 more from the Rabble. McVety's at... this is horrible.
It's pretty nutty that Gideon counts as a non-token creature, and you just get to pump that with Always Watching.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Planeswalker, right? All right. Knight of the White Orchid from Thompson. McVety down to 2. Now he's the one who needs the Tragic Arrogance, and even then, that doesn't take care of the Planeswalker. And that is game and match. Gerry Thompson improving to 11-0, defeating Max McVety. And you got to think maybe he's getting yet another Invitational top 8.